Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, Scott, and Martin, as they kick off this week's discussion.
Hello. Welcome to what is sure to be another fine episode, fine discussion, fine review of a tremendous book, if I dare say so myself. It is my pick. I'm Phil, your host this evening, but this would be no fun without the usual suspects. I am, of course, joined by Martin.
Hey, everybody.
By Scott.
Hello.
And Shane may leave us within a few minutes, depends how this goes at the start. I am worried about Shane, but he is here.
Ahoy, hoy.
But like I
You
said,
had
he
nothing
may not
better
be
to
for,
do.
yeah, he may not be here for longer because I'm going to start with him, but not just yet. We, of course, this evening, we are discussing, if I remember how to do this, Thanos. From 2016, Thanos Wins from 2016. This is the introduction of the Cosmic Ghost Rider. This is one of my favorite stories in modern day times, so please go easy. This is I'm looking forward to it, shall I say, even though I do kind of worry about other people's reaction. So what's this about? Can't remember. It's just this big bombastic romp. We have Thanos, who, in his aim to please death, as in Lady Death, he has one final kill in his hands in order to hopefully be with her for all of eternity or whatever. And the present or the current day Thanos is summoned into the future by the Cosmic Ghost Rider, who, of course, is essentially King Thanos, the future Thanos' lapdog. This is millions of years in the future. There's nobody left. Every single person is dead, apart from Thanos and a Cosmic Ghost Rider and someone hidden in the basement. So he needs somebody worthy, essentially, to bring an end to him and help him his pursuit of death. And yeah, like I say, a bombastic romp, good fun time. A bit crazy, a bit wacky, a bit of time travel. I know if you're an avid listener, you know I'm not overly fond of time travel.
However, you know that I am.
Yeah, this is a very simplistic, easy to understand time travel experience. Yeah, so this was written by Donny. This is one of his first big. This is the book that launched Donny. To be fair, in my opinion, he's been in a few other Marvel books, but this is the one that really launched him into kind of Marvel stardom, in my opinion. Art by Geoff, colors by Antonio Fabella, and letters by Feces Clayton Cowles. Is it Feces? Is that part of his name?
Yeah. No, I think that's like an organization. We've done a few creators with VCs, like Corey Petit is probably the most popular one we've done.
Just check who has joined us on the live stream tonight. We have Liam, the Funky Gibbons, and Heidi Ho. We have Steve, who I know has read, and we're glad to have you here tonight. And Triple D Comics, who I know is also a big fan of this because he's asked for it a few times, hasn't he, for the Herd's Choice.
Oh, it's lucky it didn't land on him.
Yeah, because I had to replace a previous pick of mine that was picked by somebody else for this. So
yeah,
we could have been here all night trying to think of a different book. So I think that's all the housekeeping out of the way. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks everyone who's listening to the podcast. This gets stuck into it, and I'm going to rip the band-aid off. Shane's name on screen is Thanos Talks, so I'm assuming he has a lot to say. Shane, what was your initial thoughts on this book?
I don't know what this book was going for thematically. You had the seriousness of Thanos, and you had the Deadpoolness of Ghost Rider, and I don't think the two connected correctly with the tone that this book was trying to reach. I think that sort of comedy aspect should have been left out of this. Had he been a little bit more serious, we could have kept the tone going, because I like the tone of the book. I like what it was going for. However, this is a personal thing. I don't think Thanos should have his own book. I don't think he's a character that should have his own title. I think he's much more an antagonist in other people's books. I think he's far too overpowered. He's not interesting enough to have his own book. He's not as nuanced as the Marvel Universe version, is he? Like the movie version, who actually thinks he's a good guy and wants to do good. This is just a bad guy. He just wants everyone dead, just so that he can be with death, essentially. So there's no nuance to this character. I don't think he's strong enough for his own title, but that's just me.
Yep, that's just Shane. See there, Shane. No, I'm kidding. Let me rearrange this. This is awkward.
Look what you've done now.
Oh, that's what happened. Just say hey to Efren from Passport Comics. He's joined us. Hey, guys. And I know that he is a massive fan of this book. He read it recently himself, and he loves it. So he'll have some good positive points to make. Scott, you look a bit perplexed. I feel like you're it's kind of in the same camp, but not quite in the same camp as Shane.
I'm an on the fence kind of thing at the moment. So like I understand Shane's opinion on, Thanos and Ghost Rider don't work well, and then the aim of the book. I've literally written down 1 + 2 = 4 on my. It was like you have the numbers there that you wanted to add up, but then you got the wrong result.
So let me stop. 1 + 2 = 4.
Thanos plus Ghost Rider equals not what you wanted, essentially.
Describe the book. Brilliant.
But yeah, this was, I guess, the thick of it is a love story, I guess, and it just seemed like Thanos was going to long lengths just to get the girl, I guess, and that's putting it politely. This book was visually stunning. I loved the colors. It was an absolute delight to look at. Really, really gorgeous. Really, just amazing. I love the paneling especially in the fight between Thanos, Ghost Rider, and Silver Surfer. Loved that. Really, really good. But writing wise, a lot of narration, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
it was good.
Martin?
Martin, say it. Come on, let's join me on this. We'll have a nice divide. 2 against 2 = 6. Come on.
Oh, Phil, I'm with you, man.
Yes,
I'm with you. I love this. I love the Cosmic Ghost Rider. I do, in a way, agree. Thanos having his own title was a bit strange, but it worked. I love this. Cosmic Ghost Rider is great. I love Thanos. I love that you've got some cosmic element in it. We've got Silver Surfer in it. For me, this was brilliant. I loved it that we got a little break. So we got the origins of the Cosmic Ghost Rider as well, that took you away from the main story to tell you his origin. This isn't my first interaction with this story. I have come across this before, but this is sort of a reread for me. But I loved it just as much. It's the one that's always stuck with me, which is why I went and bought the omnibus as well. So, yeah, I'm Team Phil on this one. Love this.
Thanks. Yes,
Right.
come on.
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the book. I did enjoy the book. It just wasn't very deep. And that's all I'm getting at. It was a really cool, fun book. The fights were awesome. And story-wise, even though it was a love story, there was no emotion there.
It's very much like an action. Like if this was a movie, like a standalone action but cosmic movie, and like a popcorn, you would just take it as it is, and that's it. You don't have to think too much about it.
But
I
it's
like
called
to think-
Thanos. Yeah, and it's called Thanos Wins. I mean, it should have been called Thanos Won because he'd already done everything, and we got a few cool flashbacks of him killing everyone. But I wanted to see that. Like this is an event book. Like this is a Secret Wars or something like that. You know, it's a 12-issue run where Thanos actually kills everyone, and then is millions of years in the future realizes he can't die and wants to die. Then he calls his younger self back, which erases the entire event. But this is a big event book, and it's just done in like 5 issues, and they're like, yeah, it's just, here you go. Here's a couple of tiny little 6 issues. Sorry.
Did you miss an issue?
And here's a little few flashbacks of him killing the Avengers and the Inhumans, and it's like, no, I want to see that. I want to see them battle him and lose. I want that drama and that tension. You know,
he ended up killing Galactus, Mephisto, Avengers, X-Men, Thor, Namor, Guardians of the Galaxy, Celestials, Inhumans, and then a few more that I couldn't name because I didn't know who they were.
But you just see them in like a little panel here and there. You don't see the actual fight, so you don't have any. You're not invested in anything because we already know he's won. They show us him on his throne.
But how did he win?
Yeah, but I don't care now because you showed me him win. So you start at the beginning of that story and build.
If you think of it this way, so this is, I can't remember how many millions of years in the future, but this is like Marvel now have their end game for whatever millions of years when they're still writing Marvel comics. We now know the action are going to end at some point. When, we don't know, but I like to think we won't survive that long to witness that.
He erased it at the end. Thanos disappears. Thanos went back in time and altered the timeline. And he said,
but we don't know. We don't know if he did. We don't know if
he won.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because Efren has said he read it and honestly didn't like the storyline that much. He heard so much about it and read it recently. What did he actually win? I feel Geoff is just messing with him as usual. Like if you've read the Infinity Gauntlet, Geoff is pretty prominent in that as well in terms of his kind of motivations. Essentially, Thanos does win because King Thanos defeated everybody, and then the new young Thanos won by not giving the King Thanos what he wanted. Essentially, so he wins in his way. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, that's how I took it.
Thanos that's the Thanos that wins. He goes back. No, he goes back in time and he alters his future.
Yeah,
because he thinks of his future self as weak, so he erases that weaker version of himself.
Yeah, and that's why like the kind of like the full circle type of thing where Thanos wins. Doesn't matter which version, he wins. Connie is here, sends up nerds, and she said she can't remember why I read this book, but I think I read it when I read Cosmic Ghost Rider. You probably did, or at least there's echoes of his obviously origin in both books.
Can I ask? I mean, obviously we read Cosmic Ghost Rider, so we knew. But reading this the first time, because you obviously read this the other way around. You read this first, Phil, I assume?
Yes, I think
that's the correct way, isn't it, to read this first?
So you read this first, and then Cosmic Ghost Rider appeared, and he says, I had a name once. So before we find out who he is, he mentions that he had a name once.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I assume, like everyone else, you assumed it was Deadpool, the way he was talking, the way he was acting throughout the entire book. Did you?
To be fair,
it has that kind of
feel. And I honestly can't remember if I thought Deadpool. Bear in mind, I was relatively new to comics and hadn't read any Deadpool. Only my version of Deadpool's the movie Deadpool. So I wasn't too sure I thought that. However, once it was all said and done, this was finished, the Cosmic Ghost Rider was finished, I was worried that they were going to use him too much. Like Deadpool at that time seemed to be in everything. I was worried they would turn him into this kind of silly. Like, he is silly, but like he's not Deadpool silly, I don't think, just yet.
I think he is. I think the writing for him is terrible. He's just too over the top.
He's certainly not Frank Castle as we know him. It's certainly not the Punisher. But I think the point of the story was like he had literally been turned into the Ghost Rider, had nobody to kill, nobody to seek vengeance on, whatever. He was just on his own for hundreds, thousands, and millions of years, and he went crazy. So he became this kind of almost goofy, unhinged.
That's why it would have made more sense for it to just be Deadpool. Just make it Deadpool. Deadpool can't die anyway, so you could have had him survive Thanos' final attack on Earth, and then he's the last living thing, so Mephisto makes him the Ghost Rider, and then it just would have played out. The writing would have been fine then. But because it's meant to be Frank Castle, I just don't see why they made it Frank. It could have been anyone. Because
you never saw it coming.
Yeah, but that's
would you have honestly thought it would have been Frank Castle? I know I wouldn't have. You just said it. You thought it'd be Deadpool.
Yeah, but that's like But that's like doing an episode of Columbo where we see the killer at the beginning, and then at the end of Columbo, he goes, "Oh, it weren't him; it was his brother. You didn't see that coming, did you? I got you. Huh? No, you've just built it up to be something, and then just changed your mind. It was pointless being frank.
I think it's worth noting as well that Thanos was an 18-issue run. I believe it was Geoff Lemire was issues 1 to 12, and I'm not too sure of the story, but Geoff Lemire basically vowed to never work for Marvel again. So something happened between him and Marvel, and he left the book. So they were at a bit of a loss. They needed somebody to kind of jump in, and Donny Cates came in. So in terms of the way you were describing how he just killed the X-Men, killed the Avengers, all this stuff happened in between, it's almost like they had to throw something together. So they couldn't go too deep into the details like that, but they wanted to get a good fun story in order to end the Thanos run, essentially. So Donny Cates took the reins quite late on, the final third of the run, essentially. So I do see where you're coming from in terms of like how it was put together, but I think that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. And as for the Deadpool stuff, I think it works, in my opinion, in terms of small bursts, short stints, where you couldn't. I don't think he. I mean, there's now a new run now of the Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is only an issue 3, but I think it's an ongoing thing. It's been hard to have this like an 80 issue run or something. Like I think 6 issues, mini series. I'm just saying. I don't know.
You really think a Marvel book in 2023 will make it to 80 issues?
It'll probably get 12, and that'll be it. But I just think you couldn't have him on such a long run. I don't think there's too many layers to unwrap. For example, like the standalone stuff they done after this story. Obviously, you had the main Cosmic Ghost Rider series we read, but then we had Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel Universe, and it's him basically kind of going back in time, kind of Deadpool done.
Yeah, they
and
did that,
just messing about with stuff. Then it stopped, and then he there was nothing for a couple of years until recently. As for Thanos, I also agree with you in terms of it's better to him be a villain, like somebody else's nemesis as such, not so much his own story. However, I was really intrigued by Thanos in this, like the fact that he's older, he's grey hair, long hair, and like he's just living this life in like a deserted world and can't die. There's nobody to kill him but himself. Like that's cool. So he sends the writer back in time, get my younger, more stronger self, bring him back and get him to kill me. Like that's great.
But why didn't he just go to Ghost Rider and go, bring me myself from yesterday? He'll know what the plan is, and then we can just get it done. Why from millions of years ago where he knows he's going to be aggy and cause issues?
But then there would be no comic to write. The story's over. So I'll find today. I should back in time and kill myself. I'll wait till tomorrow so my past self knows I'm planning to do this. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's something like my dad would say.
Yeah.
It's just like you have a film and just go, so if they just did that, then it would have been done. I was like, yeah, but then we wouldn't have the film. Like
I understand, but that's what's called a plot hole. And if you're not good enough writer to write around a plot hole or write over a plot hole, you can't just ignore the plot hole and say, well, it's so the story can happen. That's bad writing.
Oh, I love a good plot hole. It gets us talking. It gets the discussions going. And here we are on a Wednesday night talking about the plot hole in Thanos. Martin, say something positive.
I was going to say before, I do understand, in one respect, I do understand why the negativity towards Frank Castle in this particular story, because I feel it actually is more beneficial when you move over to the Cosmic Ghost Rider series. It's more beneficial to the story then, but here, no. But I do love the Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's the star of the show for me. I don't care if he's silly and stupid and Deadpoolish. I just think he's a great character. I like the Rider. I love the evolution of that character. I love it that we got to see him become the Ghost Rider originally, and then he became, they got the cosmic powers.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
he just jumped from boss to boss. He's like,
yeah.
You're my boss now. You're my boss now. You're my boss now.
I thought that was great.
It was hilarious that Galactus comes to Earth like seeking asylum, seeking help, and Frank's like, "Heyo, how you doing? Hi, Frank here. So, what do you want?" It's like having this conversation on top of a roof, on top of a tall building with Galactus.
What I'm hearing, Martin, is that your favorite issue in a Thanos story is the one about Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually one
Cool.
of my
Moving on.
notes. One of my notes that I've written down is I enjoyed the Ghost Rider parts, but this is a Thanos book, and the fact that I enjoyed the Ghost Rider parts speaks volumes for this being a Thanos book.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, you got me there. I do prefer
No, he doesn't. He
Cosmic
doesn't.
Ghost Rider in this. Yeah, I'm with you.
Without the
there.
cosmic, oh no, but without the without Thanos, you wouldn't have a cosmic Ghost Rider.
That is
So-
true.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would, because Galactus made him, not Thanos.
Yeah, but he appeared in Thanos book, so if there was no Thanos book, there would be no cosmic Ghost Rider. All right.
But I did like the
Butthole.
big fight at the end with the fallen one.
That was terrific.
That I thought was great.
Yeah.
So that Cosmic Ghost Rider weren't in that. So I thought that was a really good story. I love the way that they brought an old Herald back.
Where have you been for so long?
You know, that was such a
Big
good twist.
Yeah.
I didn't actually expect that. So that caught me off guard.
Well, this is the thing. The Fallen one, for his short stint in the book, was also great. It was equally great for me as was the Cosmic Ghost Rider. If you recall, I think it was Planet Hulk. I'm pretty certain it was Planet Hulk. He showed up. Remember, he fought Hulk in
Yeah, he
Sakaar?
did. Yeah.
It was terrific. Like, I'm a big fan of the Silver Surfer, but admittedly, I've never read a full run of his. But whenever he shows up in books like this, he's terrific. And you know, he's different color. He's like black or something. He's darker anyway, and he's wielding the hammer. And like you say, he was away for so long so he could become worthy, and that was phenomenal. It's just so cool, And that was one of those moments where like almost like hairs the back of your neck. In my opinion, anyway. But he's also, for me, in the action scene you're talking about, I think this is where the book thrives in terms of its art. I think the action scenes were phenomenal. The fight scenes were great. Scott, you mentioned the paneling as well, the way it was kind of laid out. Like the scenes we have Thanos talking to himself, they're just like any other comic book, but it's the action. And I think that there's a lot of it in this book. So what are your real thoughts on the art in terms of, obviously, I think we all like it, but, you know, have you seen art like this before? Do you think it's better than all the things you've read before? Is it the best art you've ever seen? Tell me what you think, Scott. We'll go with you because you were quite positive in the art.
This is really good art, mate. You know, I think I've read too much now to say that it's the best or it's better than, you know, it's. I don't know what the best art is now. You know, like I've read too much. I've read too many things.
Mind
to know what the
management
best
must be
art.
better, surely.
Yeah, mate, that was up there. You know what I mean? Like, show me mad skills with watercolor. I loved it. This was really good. The detail was fantastic. Faces were brilliant. I can't help but think, though, you know, Death, when she comes up in the last issue, I'm convinced that, like, Geoff or whoever drew her, is like just asked his, I don't know, his girlfriend, his partner, whatever, or like a friend of his. This looks like a real person. Like he's gone and gone, hey, can you just take a few photos of me in these kind of poses, and I'll just draw that. And like apart,
It looked really
like
clean, didn't it, compared to the rest of the book?
yeah, she looks so realistic. You know what? You know what I'm
Do
trying
you
to
think
say?
it's because
I
she's
don't
the
know.
only human-looking person in the book, really?
No. It was just the poses and the facial expressions, and I'm like, I couldn't. Well, I'm not an artist. I couldn't think of those from the top of my head, and I haven't seen facial expressions as expressive and real and human as those. I can't think of when I've ever seen that in a book. So yeah, I was the character design and the just how they've drawn her faces and the emotions she had. It's awesome. It's brilliant. Character design as a whole, everyone looks great. You know, when Thanos needs to look menacing, he looks menacing. When he needs to ponder, he's pondering. You know, and I loved how sad Hulk looked. You know, and how like how much he was begging to just end it for him and stuff like that. And it was just really good. And just the shock of Silver Surfer's face when he's stabbed in the back. Loved it. And it's just, again, when Silver Surfer's there, a load of reflections on his body, Love that. I mentioned that last week. Love Reflection. Yeah, just fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it.
Martin?
I do agree. The action sequences, and a lot of the battles, and sort of your shock moments, they were the highlights of the artwork for me. You do find there was quite a few images where we got to see some landscape. You know, when Galactus first turned up on Earth, when no one was there. I love that shot of just the rider coming up. There's some lovely effects there. Same with where Thanos is at the moment. We got to see some of the land. I thought some of that was really cool. But yeah, overall, I can't fault it at all. Faces, something I can't help but look at now. I can't focus on it, but I have to focus on faces. They were brilliant all the way through. There was no sort of short. There was nothing sort of what's the word? There was no shortcuts there.
There's no dots for eyes.
Yeah, everything was very well done throughout. Can't fault it.
Shane, you must be happy because there was no dots for eyes. You must have liked it.
Yeah, I love the art as well. I mean, I had like 4 or 5 page picks before I got my final one. Like as I was reading, I was like, "That's my page," and then I was getting to another one. I was like, "Oh, that's my page. Oh, now that's my page." It's like I was literally just collecting pages as I went. I think the only issue I do have is when Silver Surfer was stabbed in the back. I think his face looked too alien, like his eyes opened too much. The shock on his face was fine, but it was his eyes. They were just too big and bulbous, and he looked like one of those grey aliens. But everything else, fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Need to put a word out as well for the letterer when it comes to the sound effects and stuff like that. That was brilliant.
They were great.
Yeah, massive. It was just massive. It was awesome.
Yeah, like all the rumbling and the crack, like the crack sounds. It was you're right, it was all quite big and it was, but not in a bad way, in a good way, obviously. I think it didn't like take a page away from actual art because you got so much of the good action scenes. And Passport Comics is saying about Death looked hot, by the way. She did. She was a beautiful looking character in this book.
Do you not think she also looked like DC's Death from Sandman and from DC comic books?
Yeah, but this is the thing. I don't know a lot about Death and either DC or Marvel. I just assume they maybe they're the same person because one of them's a rip off of the other one anyway. I don't know who came first. You're going to tell me DC's came first or Sandman?
Well, no, I mean I've only ever seen Death in Marvel Comics as a skull, as the Reaper version. I've never seen her with flesh, so I don't know.
Well, even the statue that he had, the monument for her, was the skull. It threw me a little bit when we got to see her face. I thought, oh, okay, that's a version of the character I've not seen before.
Yeah.
Just a hello, Highland G has joined the chat, and hey everyone, and as has Cali Comics, who said he enjoyed. That's a different comment. Frank was the only person there for like 500 years. I think it was more than that. It was millions of years, I understand. And he's saying the interaction between old and young Thanos is fun, and it is. I always love the way, like, whenever they're talking to one another and somebody does something menacing or kind of evil, they both grin, like they're both impressed. Well, like well done. I would do the same thing as you did. It was cool. But we've talked about the art, so let's get into our pages. So, just for future reference, any guys who are in the chat live, if you ever wanted your page shown on the live stream for us to talk about, send it to us on Instagram and we will showcase them. I'm going to start with Scott because I think you're quite early doors, maybe. I think
issue 1, issue 13. Yeah. So this is my page in that issue 13, where the Ghost Rider kind of chains up Thanos and straps him to his space bike and drags him through space and time. Flash forward into millions of years into the future to I'm assuming a desolate Earth, and it's just such a fantastic page. So like on the top left, you've got the green of the I'm assuming the stuff from the Time Stone, and then you've got the faraway image of the flames from the cosmic ghost bike. I don't know if it's called that, but that looks great as well, and how it's kind of like erratic that kind of looks as well. And then you got the kind of stillness of space going around it. Then with the the little rocks floating around and the meteors and comets or whatever they are, and the massive sun in the background as well. It's just a fantastic looking page. I love it.
It's very cinematic, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm.
Like this would be like a transitional scene in like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie or something, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just flying into the Earth. It was cool. Really cool. Martin?
I'm a big fan of skull artwork. So much that I actually have a skull tattoo on my back. I've got a large skull tattoo on my back, so this was an easy without stripping off.
Okay, it's past 9 o'clock. Right.
Maybe past the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, not only did I pick this page for that, but I picked it as well because of the importance of is it the penance there in this book and how it was used with Thanos, where it's normally used to show people, their evil side and scare them. He used it as enjoyment. That was such a twisted way of turning something we've known for years about the Rider into something as a morning wake-up call for Thanos. Just give him that
coffee
down memory lane. Yeah.
Like we haven't read many things on the Nerd that involve the Ghost Rider, and that's the only time I've ever read anything that involves Ghost Rider. So I really like this page because it actually explained to me what the pen instead did. And I was like, great, I get it now. Thank you very much, Donny Cates. And then I love this page as well. This is going to be one of my picks as well. And I found this page absolutely captivating, hypnotizing. Just looking into it myself, I was like, "Whoa, this is great." Yeah, absolutely fantastically done.
Like there's really good like texture, like even on like the teeth and the skull itself.
Yeah.
You can see like indents and it's like worn or whatever. Yeah, it's really cool. Really a good lot of details went into it for a relatively simple page. Essentially, it's a close up of a skull, but yeah, a lot of detail in it.
Even the grain on the teeth.
Yeah.
And the indents. It's such a good page for me. I loved it.
I love the flames at the top, kind of look like hair as well.
Yeah.
It looks like he's got beautiful golden locks coming down.
I should say as well, just while we touched on it before we move on to mine Shane's pick of page, is that so this is 1318 of Thanos. It doesn't include the annual of Thanos. I think that comes part of the trade paperback. We didn't read it for this purpose of this show. But I want to touch on that because on that annual, it's essentially the Cosmic Ghost Rider, Frank Castle, given a backstory of how evil Thanos is and given all these different scenarios of how evil he is. And this page and the way they describe this, where how he likes the penance there, like it's his coffee in the morning. Like he can't go on without it. He needs that. Like Thanos is an evil guy. And the annual, if you haven't read it, you should read it. It does a really good job at doing that. Shane, did you read the one I advised you to read?
I read one story in it, and damn, it's dark, man. That was dark. It
Yeah.
starts out so happy, and you're like, wow, he's helping this old lady cross the street. That's Thanos. Like, what's going on? And then it's just like, oh man, that's dark.
Yeah.
Really good. If you get a chance, it's only like 5 or 6 pages.
It's not even. I think it's 3. I think it's 3. That particular one.
Oh, really?
It's
it's really
pages,
short.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about that. Well, I just want to advise you guys, if you do have it or get access to it, go read the annual. And that story in particular it makes you really think like, God, this guy is bad. But moving on nicely to mine and Shane's page. I think mine comes before yours, I think. So we'll go with mine. This is where the fallen one basically takes on
Silver Thorfer.
Yeah. And it's just, it obviously hits them with Mjolnir the hammer, and it's just a cool action page. The rider's armor is all smashed up, and you've got the electric and the flames, and it's just really, really cool, I think. Yeah, the teeth are falling out. He's knocked it all off, and it's just, again, this is a similar pose for the Silver Surfer, I believe, from the page I picked from Planet Hulk, where he swung and hit Hulk. Obviously, I just think there's something about this character, the Silver Surfer, I really like, and just its action scenes like this, I just think are so cool. And look at the colors, bit of pink, bit of purple. Damn, I'm happy. That's a mighty fine page, in my opinion. Shane, you very sinister here, isn't it? Go ahead.
I picked this page. It's Thanos, young Thanos beating old Thanos, but that's not why I picked it. I picked it because of the harrowing panel of Death turning her head away from this.
Yeah.
Like, this is what she wanted, or this is what he thinks she wants. And she's watching it, and she's the page before, she's like smiling and she's in awe and she's enjoying the fight. But then at the top, she's sort of a bit like, oh, this is going a bit far. And then the battle is so brutal that Death turns away, and I just thought that was quite harrowing, so I had to pick it.
How did you take? So you took this as she doesn't want to witness this beatdown, because I took it as this like the older Thanos is no longer what she wants now because he's getting beat up by this other Thanos. That's how I took it.
I'm on Team Shane.
So this is one of these moments. Hold on. It's open for interpretation.
Hey.
Because I definitely took it as like when she's deaf, she's obviously witnessed so many gruesome things over her time. She's now watching her Destiny or partner or whatever just get beaten to a pulp, and she's like, maybe he's not the one for me, type of thing. Do you know what I mean? And that's why she turns away.
I'm with Shane on this. Like, this was going to be my pick, but I couldn't figure out how to explain it, why it was going to be my pick. And Shane did it perfectly. That was exactly what I wanted to say, pretty much.
Yeah, I think because she's not. I think if she had turned with disgust, that's how she would turn if she no longer thought of Thanos like that. But it's more of a sadness turn away where she just can't bear to watch this kind of brutality. Yeah. And I think to get Death to turn her head away, it's pretty dark. And see, this is the tone that I wanted for this book. I wanted this tone throughout the entire book, but then you have Ghost Rider popping up, making jokes and talking stupid, and the tonal shift was just like a roller coaster, and I just wasn't having fun as much as I should have been. Like Ghost Rider, I love the Cosmic Ghost Rider book that we read last time. I loved it. Such a good jaunt. The Thanos parts in this were great. The Ghost Rider parts in this were great, but you put them together and it's two separate books. It's like you've tried to put a square peg in a round hole, and it didn't go, but you just left it there and went, there you go, it's done, and just handed it to me. Do you know, like, I needed it to be separate. Either make Ghost Rider serious or make Thanos silly. Like, you have to do one or the other.
To be fair, my enjoyment of the Ghost Rider, of the writers, that, yes, he's silly, but I've also read him in a serious tone. Maybe it's just how I've taken it, or I choose to try and take it in a serious way, but just sometimes I do feel like even in the current book at the minute, I think he's quite serious, and I think they're maybe trying to kind of leave that goofiness behind in a way, because I think that was one of the, as you're saying here, it's one of the kind of critiques that he's too goofy, too stupid, and they're trying to leave that behind. But I know it's Frank Castle. Whenever you get him in all their books with his helmet off, it's just him with the great grey hair or whatever else. He's quite tough, a bit of a badass, and quite serious at the same time. But again, I'm making excuses for him. I just think if you're driving around the universe on your own for so long, I mean, it's hard to be serious all the time, you know. Just want to catch up with some comments. Cali Comics, he said Thanos loving the Penance Star was gold. Like his cup of coffee in the morning. Yep. Steve is saying he really enjoyed the annual. Love the story turn up on Mark's birthday. Don't think it was called Mark, but that's also a good story, Shane. You should just read the annual. If you like, I've
been reading the comments, and that does sound like quite a funny story. Yeah. I will have to check.
Just go back. They are hilarious. And yeah, I think that's all the comments up to date. Pete has had to leave us. See you next time, Pete. But yeah, that's me up to date. I've lost my comments. So we'll move on to the kind of, well, we've touched on the writing anyway. And the vibe I'm getting, obviously, is that the story is okay, but it's just trying to determine what the tone kind of is. But did you like the way, and you always say, Shane, start, middle, and an end. This had a start, middle, and the end, and it ended in a way I don't think anyone would have expected at the end. Do you know what I mean? Like Thanos, the younger Thanos, going back in time, and he wins because he obviously changes the future Thanos and erases him. But do you feel like you need to see what happened, or like do you care, and that you want to see that book of what happened to the younger Thanos to see why it erased this current one? Or are you happy with the way it was laid out?
No, I'm happy with just him going back and Thanos disappearing. Because I mean, it's just a mindset. He didn't have to actually do anything. He just had to put himself in a completely different mindset. Because he's like, right, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to win. I'm going to kill everyone. But what I'm not going to do is be a little bitch and call my younger self to come and kill me. Done. And then older Thanos disappears. Simple as that. That's all he had to do. Put a little card in his pocket to read, do not open for 10 billion years. And then he opens it and he's like, don't call younger self. Okay, there you go, done. Simple as that.
Martin, anything to add there?
I do agree. I didn't want any more from the end of this. I think if it finished on a good tone, you didn't need to know any more. The fact that you got the understanding that he'd gone and that he'd been erased, I think that pretty much explained it all, what younger Thanos did. I think if you're going to go into it any more than that, I think you're going to be dragging the story out, and then I think you'd probably lose me. I think the fact that it was just such a bookend finish, that made the end for me.
See, that's what I think too, in terms of like omitting all the stuff of like what happened in between with the Avengers and so forth. Like, I think if you and Shane mentioned it's an event book. If you tried to make this an event book, one, you're going to end up like 4 omnibuses probably, because you'd have all the tie-ins. Like, you'd be there all day. I'm just not sure it would work in that kind of format. So the fact that he does come in, like, just gives us like surmises some certain things and leaves it all out, the detail, and we have that. I think it was a better way to do it. Similar to, like, we don't really need to know what happened to the younger Thanos. But listen, Scott, you like time travel. I do, mate. I don't tend to like time travel too much. However, this is the kind of the simple Back to the Future time travel. Do you know what I mean? Go back in time, or change your past, which changes your future. There's almost alternate reality stuff like an Endgame give us, where it's a bit complicated, whatever else. I like that. I like that it's simple. I think if it gets too convoluted, it just takes the enjoyment out of it. Like, we don't really need to know the science behind it. Just give us those simple details. Do you agree?
It was simple. It was just young Thanos is dragged to the future. He ends up winning and then goes back. And that's it. Like, it is
that's on the back of the book, in it. I think I read that.
It is a self-contained story, and this could, be canon or not canon. Depending on how successful it was, isn't it? This, like you said, this is one of Donny Cates', the book that launched him, one of his early ones, and it was just I think it was done just to be safe, wasn't it? Just right, okay, get launched. It's all in the future, but then it doesn't have to be canon, and we can just make it how we want to around it.
Yeah, that's what I liked about the fact that it was so far in the future that you're not touching any continuity, you're not changing anything.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're changing Frank Castle, but that happens in the future type of thing. So there's no consequences to it. And I think that's why I like it a lot too. Again, with Donny Cates essentially just coming into it late on, kind of given this book, asked to kind of fix it and end it. And he can't delve too much into different many characters and whatever else. So I liked it as a fan.
That's how artists, like writers, are able to they're able to show what they can do when they have no consequences. When you're like, Injustice and DC vs. Vampires, when you're allowed to just kill people off and you're allowed to do whatever you want, you can just have fun with it. So if I'm going to do a time travel film, I'm going to do time travel, and Marvel's like, well, yeah, but you can't kill anyone. And he's like, no, I'm not going to kill them off until 30 years down the line. And they're like, oh, fine, kill who you want off. If it's set in 1 million years, that's fine. So he didn't have to worry about any of that. And he just got to show what Thanos can actually do when he stops holding back.
Ooh. I've got a question about continuity and stuff like that. So Thanos is sitting in Galactus's head. Is that where his throne was? Yeah. So Donny Cates wrote this. Donny Cates is also writing the current Thor run. And Galactus's head is also the front door of Asgard now. So, how many times does Galactus die? And
I think more importantly, what has Donny Cates got against Galactus?
I know, like
That's
what?
true.
Like, I don't get it. Like, I thought about this, and I was like, sure. Like, didn't we read something? Oh, I've also read Jason Aaron Thor the other day, and King Thor kills Galactus. So I'm like, what? Like, why is Galactus dying so many times, and which one is proper? Which one's the real one? It's just messing with my head.
He might just
It's
not like.
emoji.
He might not like Thanos. This might be, Tom Taylor's version of Nightwing.
I think
He get killing him at one point, didn't he, Tom Taylor?
see, Galactus is one of,
No, Nightwing.
Galactus is one of those characters, to be fair, that he exists in the Marvel universe. But what can you do with him, really? Like, do you know what I'm saying? He's been there, done that. We know his thing. So they obviously try to use him. And in terms of continuity, they're obviously, like you said, in the Thor book and the Jason Aaron Thor, and then the current Thor, and then this as well, the way he was dead and all of them. Like, they're obviously stretching continuity a little bit and playing about with it. I like continuity in my books, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's the most important thing. If Galactus was dead in another book but appeared in this, I don't think it would. I don't mean to annoy me, but I don't think it would think too much about it, because I think of Galactus as a throwaway character, even what's mad to say because it's Galactus. But it's hard to use Galactus, really, so they just use him in little scenes like this where they can kill him. You know what I mean?
Just assume that in 500 years' time, he just comes back to life.
Yeah,
everyone comes back to life in comics. It's fine. So he could be the door on Asgard for a while. Then he'll be dead in another book for a while, but then he'll come back to life at some point to fight Thanos, to come to Earth to ask for Ghost Rider's help. There you go.
I mean, I hope that's the case, because Donny Cates wrote both of these things. So either he's messed up or he's done it on purpose to then bring Galactus back for something in the future. I don't know.
And Donny Cates is good at linking a lot of his stories, like
he is.
Like the Fallen one with the Silver Surfer. He done Silver Surfer Black, what's linked to Null, which is part of the Venom. So like he is good at linking stuff together. So maybe there's something that just hasn't been explained yet.
Yet.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. But I do know where you're going with. But then continuity, I think, sometimes can hinder people. So I think certain elements they can just try their best to kind of fluff their way by and hope no one has a keen eye like you, Scott's going to pick up on that, because I didn't pick up on that, and I read all those books you mentioned. So well done. But overall, like, he's had fun with this book, surely.
Yeah, I had fun. I had a lot of fun. It was great to look at, and it's nice to get a bit of action in a book here and there, and yeah, but just story-wise, it's a bit of it's lacking. It's not like, that's it.
Is it memorable?
Yes.
Definitely.
That's why I think you're right. There's not a lot of depth to it. You're not unraveling anything more about Thanos. The introduction of Cosmic Ghost Rider is quite simple, but it's a good, memorable story, in my opinion. And this is actually this is the fourth time I've read this.
Nice.
I read it. I didn't read it as it was coming out. I read it shortly after, and then I've read the omnibus through twice, and then obviously I reread again tonight, just for tonight's show. This is the fourth time I read this story, and I'm not bored with it.
That's good.
It still holds a level of excitement, and I'm a fan, big fan. And the other thing I will say too, actually, about the writing, I think it's clear as day that this. And I don't know the actual time frame, if this was kind of in and around the Infinity War time, because there were some things picked from it, in my opinion, that I'm not convinced. Like, I'm not convinced Donny Cates went back and researched the Marvel history for this book, like stuff like the Chitauri army at the start. I'm forgetting now. I should have written this. That's why you should take notes. But there's just a few things I think do kind of sound like it's coming from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And maybe that's part of like because he was rushed into doing this, he had to throw some things together, just kind of had the idea and ran with it. But I'm not going to hold that against him, because again, all that stuff just led to a really fun, enjoyable book, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I can't. You can't say it wasn't fun. It was so much fun. I'm with you, Phil. This is my second time reading this, and I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time. I love all the characters in it, and I've said it all the way through this show so far. I love the Cosmic Ghost Rider. I want more Cosmic Ghost Rider, but obviously I would like it to be a little bit tame moving forward with the comedic. I'd want a more serious Cosmic Ghost Rider. Otherwise, I'll go and read Deadpool.
Yeah, you want a Frank Castle Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yeah, but I'm happy with the comedic side as well, as long as it isn't overdone. But no, for me, I will read this again and again. I'm pleased I got the omnibus, and yeah, it's a pleasant read all the way through.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, I know, Scott, you like books that make you think, and I like that too sometimes. Depends. But I always think there's obviously is a place, for books like this, and whenever we've scored books in the past, I always tend to score high based on the amount of enjoyment I have at the time of reading the book, and something you can never underestimate that. Yes, when you pick the bones off it, by all means, you could find loopholes, as Shane mentioned fairly early on. Oh,
Missed a loophole by you.
There's another one. Oh, found another one. You must have a tally. Surely have loopholes. and you're right. So in terms of like the integral structure of the story, you could pick loads of holes in this, but I just can't see past it. I just think this is great. I love it. Highland G's made a comment about Galactus, I'm assuming. Maybe they all just think they've killed him, and it's all in their heads. He is actually alive and messing with them.
I have no idea if Galactus is capable of something like that. I have no idea.
All I know about Galactus is he eats planets, and that's it, and gives you powers of cosmic. What's actually in a strange way,
almost purple helmet.
Anyway, I'll take your word for it, Shane.
What books you've read, pal?
Yeah, but like with the omnibus, for example, I'm almost ranking this in along with the Ultimate Spider-Man. Not the same kind of story. Obviously, it's very street level. This is obviously very cosmic, but from cover to cover, there's not an issue that there's been a lull. There's no issues. There's been a lull. Even this short story, I don't think there's any issue you could say is worse than the other. I think they're all quite consistent, all quite enjoyable for their own reasons. Again, you have the comedy and you have the seriousness. I just don't think there were any stage in this book you would have read this and thought, well, that was a boring issue. Hopefully the next one's better. I think they all kind of had a certain level and maintained it throughout, which I think has to be commended. I'm just trying my best to find good points to make you guys consider, maybe up in your scores and what maybe you're thinking.
Yeah, I'll score the book.
Yeah, you've convinced me, Phil. I have upped my score as well.
Nice.
I've upped my score. So
what do you mean as well? I didn't say that.
Oh.
I've said yes, I will score the book. Yeah.
I should say that was the gimmick I played last season when I wanted the high score. This season, I'm confident in my own enjoyment of the book. So even if you score this a 2, well, no, you don't score a 2.
It won't be a 2, mate.
No, it's not a 2.
That's nowhere near a 2.
Far too high.
2.5 minimum.
Well, on that, shall we move on to our verdicts? Is there anything else you guys want to add before we do so? Anything else to point out? Okay. Well, let's get to our final thoughts and scores. For those of you guys watching live on the chat, please, if you read along, by all means, pop your score, put a 10 in the chat. I will collect them, collate them, and add them to the overall final score. And we will see if Scott's going to put this into the top 10 this week. I have to do a bit of.
I'm going to put this. I will mention as well. We have spoken about it as a group, and we have decided that this book will also be part of the sequels leaderboard because this book takes place in the Cosmic Ghost Riders omnibus. So it will be another entry into the sequels leaderboard.
Nice. And let's hope it does well. All right. Shane.
Phil's going to debunk that once the score goes down. You've gone, no. Let's raise the
Yeah.
average of Ghost Rider again.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Shane, you go first.
Okay, so I know I sounded quite negative, but it's only because we had read Cosmic Ghost Rider and I thoroughly enjoyed that book. I mean, who doesn't enjoy watching Ghost Rider punch baby Thanos in the face? Like, that's just like the peak of comic writing, isn't it? So I was up for that, and I thought it was going to be the same sort of tone, but it was a lot darker. So I think I was jarred. That's more on me than the book. If we had done it the other way around, I probably would have been a bit jarred at the Ghost Rider. But yes, I did enjoy this for what it was. I did enjoy Thanos, wanting to die at his own hand because he's the only person worthy of taking his life. I thought that was a great character trait, but I do think he's overpowered, and I don't think he should have his own comic book. Again, that's my personal opinion. I think he works much better in the background being a bad guy to a hero in their book. But this is what it is, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the introduction of Ghost Rider. I enjoyed seeing Silver Surfer again. I don't read Silver Surfer books. I've only ever seen him in other people's books, like you, Phil. But every time he shows up, he's a badass, and it makes me want to read his books, but then I'm scared because it might not be as good. So I'm going to stick to him just guest starring in people's books. I have upped my score after this chat. Art's great, story's really good, and it gives us the Cosmic Ghost Rider, so what's not to love? So I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
Nice. Martin, take it away.
I've not been shy about my love for the Cosmic Ghost Rider over the past hour. So, he is the biggest star of the show for me, but let's just take him out of it for a minute. I did really enjoy this story. I would never ever pick up a Thanos book. It's not a character that I am drawn to want to read, but I'm so pleased I have read this. This is a good book. It's a great story. I love the future premise. I love the fact that it's a throwaway at the end because of the time traveling. I love the fact that the Silver Surfer's in it. It was a brilliant twist that I just loved. I can't not score this high. This is a great book that I will read again. As I've previously read it before, I will go back at it again. So for me, I'm going in at an 8.5.
Nice.
And Scott, do you want to get that to it? I can see Scott was paying there on the screen. He was thinking. He was really thinking about his score there.
Honestly, this has left me absolutely perplexed. I haven't expected 8 from anyone for this book, and maybe this is a situation. I've said this to people before, where I've gone, "You've read the book wrong, mate," and maybe I've read the book wrong in this situation. But the bare bones of it is, Thanos is brought forward in time to kill his older self, so he can have the girl. That's it. And
you read it wrong.
You have Cosmic Ghost Rider jumping in, and I feel like that was just a plan for Donny Cates to go, okay, I'll jump out of this Thanos stuff and I'll just run with this other character. Donny Cates, reading other Donny Cates stuff in my own time, he's very, very good at a cliffhanger. And those are the only things that keep me involved in Donny Cates stuff, is like the cliffhanger and the kind of going, cool, all right, I'll read the next one, The only thing that carried this for me was the art. The action was absolutely brilliant, but story-wise, it was lacking, and it just all felt stretched out. It's a 6.5 for me.
Phil, I bet you thought that was coming from me. Oh,
through the heart. Oh.
And also,
I felt that one.
The fact
Phil
that
the
fact that the Ghost Rider issue was the best one there also says it all as well. Then
I used to be friends with Scott. Remember Scott? Scott was a nice boy. No, all fair and valid points, of course. We all have our opinions. Some could be more wrong than others, but sure. To be fair, I agree with everyone, including Scott, in terms of that there's not a lot to this story, essentially. But what I do admire about it is the fact that, again, he took over this Thanos book whenever a pretty prominent name left it, Geoff Lemire. This does not reference any of the previous 12 issues, so I'm assuming he's like starting from scratch. He's like, right, I need to finish this run. We're earmarked for 18 issues. I need to put a story together. Great. I've got Thanos. I've got young Thanos, King Thanos, Silver Surfer. I'll add in Galactus. I'll introduce the Cosmic Ghost Rider. And as Scott said there, like Donny, he's good at giving you kind of cliffhangers. He's really good at giving you moments in a book as well, like real badass moments. I think, wow, that's mad. And things that aren't really done before. And I think some of that is included here. I don't think there's a lot of stuff you could say like being recycled. Obviously, time travel, of course, has been, but I feel like there's some good original ideas in this story, and I think that should be commended. I think the art's superb. I really love the character design of the Cosmic Ghost Rider. I think he looks phenomenal. I think Thanos looked really cool, even with the long grey hair and the beard and whatever else, and the Silver Surfer, summoning Mjolnir or whatever else. It was just such a cool, action-packed book. And like I said, those 6 issues for me were just very consistent throughout. There was no drop in storytelling, the art, any of that stuff, and it was really, really, really enjoyable. And I've said plenty of times before, you can't underestimate or underscore the enjoyment you have in a book. And this being the 4th time I've read this, that hasn't subsided. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and it is one of the most my more enjoyable modern day reads, certainly. And I'm making no excuses. I'm not sorry or apologies for this. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. It's one of my favorite books that probably my top 5 books, certainly of modern day comics. If you want me to recommend, I'd recommend this and the Cosmic Ghost Rider. And I think they're both in equal par. But I, of course, take your points on board, even if they are wrong. But we've had a good few scores in the chat this evening. We have Triple G, who you had to leave, but he gave a score before he did, and that was an 8.5 from him. Who do we have? Funky Gibbons was almost alluding to 2 out of 10, but I wouldn't be taking that as a serious score. Steve has given us an 8 out of 10. And Liam actually gave us a proper score. I really enjoyed this book. Art and colours were stunning. Story worked very well. I even liked the Deadpool-esque comedy sidekick throughout. 8 out of 10. And Connie says my score is 8. Thanks, Connie. So with those scores, that's an average of, and Scott will confirm, 8.1 for the herd.
Yes.
And with that 8.1, Shane's 8, Scott's 6.5, Martin's 8.5, and mine 9. That gives us an average of 8. Is that correct? There we go.
Yes.
I'd say my math is on point, but I've got a wee spreadsheet beside me. Just so, let's see where that comes on the leaderboard. Does it make the top 10? Please kick somebody off the top 10. Come on. Oh, it does. It goes in at joint. Where are we?
Nope.
No, fifth. Is that right?
Yeah.
It knocks off the Batman TMNT. Oh, sorry. Bye-bye. So yeah, straight in there in 5th spot. Which is technically 5th spot, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, really. The 7th highest book that we have ranked this season so far. And if you want to see the rest of the leaderboard, there it is. Who cares about that when you pick some glorious books into the top 10? Scott, you have included this as the sequels, haven't you?
I've done the maths. It was really, really hard to get an average of this. We scored Cosmic Ghost Rider, what we read of that, 8 out of 10.
Oh.
So if you do like 8 plus 8 equals 16, divided that by 2, it's 8 out of 10. So yeah, so far the whole Cosmic Ghost Rider kind of run comes to 8 out of 10. So where does it come on the sequel leaderboard? Does it come into the top 10 of that? It does. It comes in 3rd place, pushing Skyward and Planet Hulk, World War Hulk down 1 place, and it means it pushes Klaus, the entire run of Klaus, off of this top 10 leaderboard.
Wow.
Well, Klaus only has volumes 2 and 3 to blame for that.
Yes, or else it'll be top.
And there's the rest of the leaderboard as well. If you want to see the sequel leaderboard as well.
The secret leaderboard.
The secret leaderboard. Don't tell them about the secret leaderboard.
So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. That for me, that's a worthy worthy score for this Cosmic Ghost Rider Thanos run. But of course, and I should have mentioned this at the start, for the next few weeks, you guys, the viewers, are absolutely going to enjoy what we have in store. We have some tremendous. I think we've talked about this privately before. This is our strongest wave, I think, this season, and it's one we all look forward to. But shall we see what we have coming up next week? I think. Yep, here we go. So, Scott, for our podcast listeners, what do we have in store for that next week?
For me, this wave, I have picked Reckless by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I have no idea what to expect from this book. I'm only picking it purely on hype and recommendations and people's love for it. So I thought, why not pick it for mine, get me into something new, because I don't have enough books to read anyway, and let's see what it's about.
Yeah, looking forward to it. As I said, I think this wave, including today, I do think this is our strongest wave yet, include that Reckless book, and of course, what's coming up after. But that is what's up next week. This week also on, if I can get my internet looking correct, we have another video from Kevin, I believe, Scott.
Yes.
And tomorrow, 7 p.m. on the YouTube, he has drawn, or how to draw, Thanos. Yeah.
His eyebrows.
He does his little chibi character as well.
Yeah.
So good. He's even doing the snap.
He's doing the snap. So cool.
He needs to start showing us how to make our own little avatars like Kev. Our own little mini Kevs.
Yeah. That's season 4 coming up. That's the plan. But yeah, like every Thursday, 7 p.m., Kev's there with a draw, and this week is Thanos, of course. You know, once you check this out, go back and watch all the rest of the stuff because it's tremendous. And if you like his drawing as well, obviously catch up on Instagram and things. He does commissions, and he appears on Triple G's video as well, of his Art Attack video. He's very good in it too. I'm not just saying this, I'm not biased. I like Alex Cormack, like the professional artist. Kev, his level for me is just as good as Alex Cormack on that show. So check it out as well. Yeah. So that's all there's left, I think. Thanks for joining us this week. That's been Thanos Wins. I think we're all winners here, of course. And yeah, let's get your waves out. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.